Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. So the last couple days I put out some videos about really my hopes and I'd say expectations of Harley-Davidson coming into the 2020 dealer meeting and what I would like to see mainly out of the Street Glide and the touring line in general. And I did one on the Sport Glide too because that's a bike that I think should change and market, I guess, the millennials who aren't interested in buying up to a full-size touring bike. But you can watch those videos. I'll link them up above. And the comments that I'm getting from everybody is, you want an Indian. And the reason why people are saying that is because I'm being very critical of Harley-Davidson when it comes to what I expect them to do in the near future. And I do believe they're going to do it because, well, I think they have to in order to compete with Indian. And again, a lot of the comments are based on, well, you know, it probably didn't help that I jacked the seat off of the Chieftain and put it on the Street Glide. But ultimately, I'm just going with that, saying I like that style, and I, of course, would like Harley to kind of do their own flair with that. Now, to the people who say that I just, you know, I'm an Indian fan or whatever, you know, I spent $22,000 or so on my 2018 Heritage. You know, I have Harley stuff. I'm a Harley fan, and I want to see the motor company succeed. Ultimately, I would love to go buy a Street Glide that has all of the things that I talked about in my previous video. So it seems to me that a lot of Harley guys, first of all, there's plenty of guys out there, like the older guys, who don't look at your phone, you don't need to have tech, you don't need to have all this stuff. Well, then go buy an electric Glide and be happy with it. But I'll tell you what, that's not the future of Harley-Davidson and motorcycle sales in general. Harley has to compete with these other companies, Honda, BMW, and you know, a Goldwing or an Indian Chieftain has a lot of these things that Harley has to compete with these things. And if they don't, they'll just end up going away. And I would hate to see that happen. I genuinely do not want to see it happen. I love Harley-Davidson. So I thought, you know, I really need to do the same thing with the Chieftain, because everybody's saying, well, you want to buy an Indian and you know, clearly that's the path that you want to go down. But I see problems with the Indian as well. And ultimately, I don't want to say problems, just design cues that I don't totally love. Now, they added that air vent onto their fairing, and a lot of people say that they stole that from Harley, and it looks like a Street Glide. I don't disagree with that. I think the turn signals placement looks like a Street Glide. I ultimately, you know, Indian, well, Victory came out with that air vent first anyways, and Harley actually borrowed that from them. I have no problem with this borrowing of design cues back and forth at all. To be honest with you, it creates competition, and if one guy comes up with something that's awesome, I have no problem with the other guy integrating a similar feature of that into their bike and do it with their style and their flair. The only person who wins in that is the customer, in my opinion. So I wanted to share the styling of the things that I wish that really Indian would do better or differently, and I hope these types of things do come back to Indian. And this would certainly help differentiate the rendering that I put out of the Street Glide the other day from the Chieftain, which they do end up looking sort of the same. I wish Indian would actually go back to looking like, well, an Indian again, and I'm talking about the Chieftain Dark Horse mainly in the fairing. This is the design that I would love to see out of the Chieftain, which is really, they don't need to add a whole lot. I mean, they're already kind of beating Harley-Davidson when it comes to including ABS, having the ride modes, and having TPMS sensors, and the, you know, just the things that they throw in there, the LED turn signals, and these things that they already batch in. They're already kind of beating Harley at that game, so I can't say that they need to step that up even more. It would be cool to see a liquid-cooled motor in that touring line. I know a lot of guys disagree with me on that, but you know, it's an opinion. So whether like it or not, it's my opinion. The fairing, this is what I want to see change. If you look at the current model year of the Indian Chieftain Dark Horse, again, they added that air vent, which is very reminiscent of a Street Glide, even the placement of it. And then they also took out the passing lamps that are in that fairing. And then they added the turn signals that are kind of similar placed to a Street Glide. And in my opinion, it's too much of the Street Glide. Now, I've also said before that I think that the inside of the fairing, the layout looks like Johnny Five from Short Circuit.
No disassemble!
I've made that joke before. and I still believe it. I love that fairing. I love the layout. I love the infotainment system. It's great. And to all these guys out there that are like, you don't need an infotainment system, that's fine, then you're arguing a different argument, and the bike should be $20,000 motorcycles and not pushing $30,000 as they do. So if that's your argument, you're really kind of having a whole separate argument about the pricing of the bikes. And if you want to remove all those things, well, then you buy an electric Glide, and we're not even talking about the same thing anymore. So I am talking about bikes with top of the line, all these electronics and things that I think buyers currently in today's market expect those things. That's what gets people looking at Gold Wings and the BMWs and things of that nature. But this is what I think the Indian Chieftain Dark Horse should look like. Take it back to looking like an Indian again. I love those, I guess you call them like feather turn signals integrated into the fairing. I'm not sure if that's what they're called. I'm really not a huge Indian guy, to be honest with you, so I don't really know all those styling cues and what people call that. But I love those turn signals up there. That to me just screams an Indian motorcycle. It kind of fits the design, and I think it fits the fairing really well. I don't know why they removed that, other than the fact that I think they were trying to really streamline this bike to just point it directly at Street Glide buyers. And I think they knew very well that they were offering a better platform as far as monoshock, electronics, better ride, all these things. And I think they just said, you know what, let's just go right at it and make no excuses about it, and this is our design. But I do wish they would kind of bring back a little bit more of that styling. I also want to see those passing lamps in that fairing. I don't think a touring bike, a large frame touring bike like that, shouldn't have the passing lamps. Ultimately, it just gives you more light up front. It's integrated. I think it looks great. Again, that's subjective. Some guys may or may not like that. But I think it just fits that large fairing and kind of puts it all into perspective a little bit better, I guess is the way I would say it. So this is ultimately really kind of what I would love to see out of Indian, and hopefully they do roll something like this out for 2020. Now, it's already been leaked that they are coming out with the 2020 Challenger, I believe they called it, which is going to be another directly shot at the Road Glide, and it looks like it's going to be pretty wild. The only thing I don't totally love about that bike, from what I've seen in some very grainy footage and obviously some very preliminary shots of it, because it hasn't really been publicly announced yet. You can't really get up close and look at it. But I didn't totally love the handlebar layout. It to me looked, I don't know, very maybe like BMW-ish, like where the bars are like pushed out closer to the rider, and it's just kind of a lot of bar, it looked like. But I know I'm not explaining that appropriately, and I don't want to start judging something before it's come out. That's not really fair to do either. So I'll wait till it comes out to, I guess, formulate my opinion totally on that. But ultimately, what I have to say is I'm excited for what Indian has coming out, because I want that to push Harley-Davidson to have to do more. As I've mentioned in my comments with a lot of viewers, I just feel like Harley-Davidson kind of was churning out the same bikes for 13 years without a whole lot of real competition, and they were kind of just, kind of sitting on what they've already done and being the best of the best, and then somebody else came around and just gave more for about the same price. And a lot of the things Harley charges additionally for, they're not. ABS and the color options and some of these things are just, I guess, more or less standard with an Indian. So I really hope this just turns into an incredible competition between the two brands, pushes them to really do harder. And I'm sorry to say it, guys, but the older guys out there who are commenting, again, these guys, you don't need a radio, you don't need all these electronics, you don't need all this stuff, this really old school mentality, I really hope Harley-Davidson just kind of leaves you guys in the dust. And I don't mean any disrespect for that. I mean, you guys clearly helped build a brand. There's a reason why Harley still exists, and a lot of it is because you guys were buying bikes for so long. But unfortunately, if they want to survive, they have to evolve. And the guys who've been fans of Harley-Davidson for all these years really need to, I think, start looking at things differently and realize if they don't do that, they're just not going to be around. So with that being said, guys, this was just a quick video I wanted to throw together of what I would love to see Indian do with the Chieftain Dark Horse. So again, I thank you very much for watching. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel, and I'll see you next time.